to Frank Bernardo. And there's a lot to say about Frank. He's got an awesome girlfriend who I adore. He's got 3 kids. He still sells real estate full time and is in the lead generation game himself. But most importantly, and I think where he can add the most value, is he currently manages over 180 salespeople. So Frank's having that conversation every single day with people who need to lead generate and build relationships for a living. He's a great coach. He's a great team lead. We feel very blessed to have you on today talking in the Generate group. So Frank, what did I miss in the 30-second bio?
Oh, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate that. I don't know. When I first started in real estate, I learned lead generation really, really fast. I was rookie of the year for Keller Williams in the whole Los Angeles area. Last year, I also recruited 147 agents to the offices that I was a part of. And I have a super, super strong passion for lead generation. Like, you know, you are one of the only other people that I know that understands how I feel. It's like, I feel like the majority of people in general just don't understand lead generation, or they're scared of it.
And tell me, where did that come from? Because you and I have a similar background. You know, we were both in the military.
Yep.
I got out and went into banking, which is a little different than what you did. You went and became a cop, but you know, military to cop to technology to real estate, doesn't seem to be a lot of crossover skills there to be a salesperson and go lead generate. So where did that innate desire to be like, no, I can change careers on a dime here and go lead generate? Like, where do you think that comes from?
Hold on. Did you say you went from military to baking?
To banking. I wish I went to baking. That would have been funny.
It sounded like you were baking, like you became a baker. Okay. Anyway. So yeah, no, so I pivoted a lot based on what I needed to do in my life. So when I create goals for my life and the things that I need to do, I created the systems and the steps that I needed to do to actually hit those goals. So when I stopped being a police officer, I said, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to get a degree in computers. I literally mapped out, okay, this is what I need to do to get to where I needed to go. And, at 30 years old, nobody was like, oh yeah, by the way, this is how you do college. I went to college and I signed up for 34 units in my first semester, which that's insane. And I didn't even realize it halfway through my second semester of 32 units that was insane. And I just think I've always created a goal and created a plan and the steps to actually make that happen. And so when I got into real estate, the thing that motivated me, that made me understand lead generation at a high level, is that I felt I was put in a position to where I didn't have a choice and I had to be successful. So I got my degree and then I got a job as fixing all the computers in the car dealerships. I was a company called Universal Computer Services. So the leasing computer, when you print out that really long lease for your car, like I fixed that computer, which sucked. But I got my real estate license to be an investor. And so I had my real estate license and I had this job and I realized I could do both really poorly. So I figured I needed to quit one to actually make one work. And so at the time I was married and I said, I went to my wife who was pregnant with our first kid, not working. And I said, listen, I think I'm going to be really good at this real estate thing. No listings, no sales, no nothing. And I said, I want to quit. And she looked at me and she said, go for it. It's literally the only supportive thing she ever did in that marriage. And the thing is that I stepped out of that role and I literally walked into the office surrounded by hundreds of thousands, agents that were making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, scared to death, sitting there knowing I have a kid at home. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? And so what I did is I just listened to all these guys talking that I knew they were making 6 figures. So if I just copied them, I knew that I would have some level of success. And I literally created like the worst script that you could ever create, not even thinking it through, and started just picking up the phone and calling people every day. Like I would just come in at 8 a.m. I'd pick up the phone and start calling people. And I just kind of felt like it was desperation.
So it really was born out of desperation. You just had no choice other than to generate. And I think we've all felt that before, right? So Tom, Sylvia, Dave or Danielle, a bunch of people are watching this live right now. Leave a comment or click the like button if you've ever felt that sense of desperation where it's like, no, I didn't do anything special. I just needed to generate a lead or a sale to feed my family. And, sounded like your ex-wife at the time was pregnant and you had a kid on the way. And there was no, like, failure was really not an option, right?
It wasn't. And that's the one thing I always tell my agents when I bring them on. I said, it has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with skill set, because I'm living proof that it 100% comes down to work ethic. Because like I said, I had the worst script, and I got on the phone and just started calling and calling and calling. And I always tell people, I'm going to give you every tool that you need to be successful. If you're on my real estate team or if you're in my real estate office, the only thing I can't do is do the work for you. So if you're willing to do the work, do the things that I tell you to do, it's going to happen, because I like practiced on my clients. That's the one thing you should ever do. You should never practice on your clients. I did that, but I ended up just through sheer force, sheer will, actually became successful. I think I did. It was a 165,000 GCI in my first 6 months in real estate. And the adrenaline of getting my first deal and closing my first commission just pumped me up so much that I knew that I could compete with all these people around me and even do a higher level of lead generation than them. That's what got me excited to just blow up my business.
Well, and I know it's so easy for people that are in the rhythm, or they're having some success, or they've adopted a lead generation practice. It's easy for you and I to say, hey man, you just got to do the work, right? Like Nike, just do it. You got to make the calls. You got to build the relationships. You work with a lot of people, and just has nothing to do with you or the company you work for, but the real estate industry as a whole has a lot of fallout and a lot of failure. You know, I think I've read some of the stats where it's like 50% of the agents that get their license aren't going to make it through the first year. And then 50% of those aren't going to make it to year 3. So again, easy for you and I to say, just make the calls, do the work. But what do you really see as the difference between the people that actually do the work and they make it and they obtain more success and financial freedom than they ever thought possible, versus the people that 6 months in, a year out, they just kind of peter out? Oh, this isn't for me. It's not. It's like, oh, it wasn't for you. The work wasn't for you. But what do you see as the difference between the people that make it and don't make it in the sales world?
You know, it comes, I mean, that turns into a whole conversation about personality types and who trusts you, who doesn't trust you. The agents that have come on that have trusted me, and I've said, listen, this is all you have to do. And I give them a specific script. And I don't know if you want me to go into the scripts that I give people or whatever, but I tell them, most people know a minimum of like 300 people. And if you do the math on, if you know 300 people and the average return rate of, like, out of those 300, how many on an annual basis are actually going to do business? You know, that's over a $200,000 a year income, but yet most agents don't hit that number because they're unwilling to do the most basic thing. And I tell people, you just got to call the people you already know and have conversations with them and make sure those people are actually your people. That's actually lead generation. Everybody on this planet is going to buy, sell, or rent at some point in time. So every conversation you have is a potential commission at the end of that. And I don't think people really get that. So it's the people that are like, you know what? I'm just going to throw myself on the sword. I'm just going to throw myself out there. I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to try what Frank said. And everybody that tries what I tell them to do, 99% of the time, they actually get somewhere and they actually do something. So I think at the end of the day, the one thing that separated me when I first started, and the one thing that separates everybody else, is the mindset. It's you actually have to believe that nothing, people get into this thing to where they're afraid of what other people are going to say to them, what other people are going to think. And so that actually limits people from doing things. So if you actually stop giving a crap about what everybody thinks and just go do you and do the things that you know you need to do to be successful, then it's going to happen. So once you change that mindset and say, hey, I'm in real estate, I don't have the choice but to be successful. And then you go forward and do the simple actions that you need to do, which makes sure everybody that you know knows you're in real estate, knows that you are the man when it comes to real estate. And if they used anybody else, they'd feel bad. Like, then you're going to be successful. There's almost no, it's that easy, but because of the mindset aspect, it's actually difficult because people can't get out of their own way.
But Frank, when I'm doing sales, I got to make sure I have the best logo, and should I have my picture on my business card or not? And what should my Facebook strategy be? Are you saying if you're in sales, it's just as easy as calling people?
Absolutely. 100%. You don't need any of that crap. Like I tell people, I tell everybody, when you come to my office, Keller Williams does amazing things. We have bells and whistles and all these awesome things. We have a great CRM. We have blah, blah. Psh. You don't need any of that. You give me this thing and drop me in the middle of any city and I'll come back with a listing. That's it. All I need is a phone. And it doesn't even have to be a smartphone. Give me a dumb phone and I'll come back, because at the end of the day, lead generation comes down to know, like, and trust. Like, I'll find somebody that knows me and I'll get them to like me. And at the end of the day, when I tell them my story, which we all have a story, they're going to trust me and they're going to want to do business with me. I do lead generation classes all the time, to where I tell everybody, I said, I'll do $1,000 challenge right now, to where I will bet you $1,000 that I can walk out into businesses and come back with a listing appointment. And nobody's ever taken me up on that.
And so going down that path, right, it always cracks me up, the people that are in real estate and haven't read kind of the go-to real estate books. Obviously I've worked with a lot of people at Keller Williams over the years. Always shocks me how many people have not actually read this book. My copy's all tabbed up and highlighted and stickered out and whatnot. But if somebody's just getting started in sales, doesn't matter whether it's real estate, mortgages, selling widgets, whatnot. I've got a friend who we're going to interview here in a couple of weeks that does life insurance. And to your point about having to talk to everybody, he's like, we have the best job in the world. Guess what? Age is undefeated. Every single person dies. So you just need to go have a conversation. When you die, do you want the people that you love to get money or no money? Like, everybody's going to die. So it's that easy. So what are some either books that you've read, skills that you've developed, or, systems, strategies, routines? I don't know if you're an early morning person. Like, what are some stuff that you do to get ready for a day of, like, okay, I got to prospect for my own leads. I've got to prospect for new agents to come to your office, and you've got to prospect for your agents sometime to get them over the hump. Like, what are anything you want to talk about? Systems, strategies, tactics, books, mindsets, Tony Robbins program you've been to. I don't care. The world is your oyster.
So I will tell you this, that I truly believe that mindset is the key to success or defeat for anybody. I've seen people come back. I mean, I was just talking to Tracy about this yesterday. It's like, she was asking me about my finances. She was like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Because I was getting creative with my finances, and I'm able to do things that some people are not, that it wouldn't seem like I was able to do. And I just said, have you ever been to a place in your life where you were so financially devastated that you never thought you'd be able to recover or come back from that? And she looked at me, she goes, no. And I go, I have. So I know how to do certain things that most people don't know how to do. And that's a mindset issue. And so I believe it all comes back to mindset. So, like, my number one book of all time is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I've read that thing probably 5 times, and I keep reading it because there's always these little things in it that actually help me. And it's so on point that it's fascinating that book was written when it was written, but it's still so on point. And my number 2 is obviously the MREA book by Gary Keller, because the models and the systems on there are totally on point as well. And then it kind of dwindles from there, but Never Split the Difference is a great book because it talks about negotiating habits, and it talks about negotiating habits from a high level. But at the end of the day, I mean, you really have to get your mind right. When I was going through that financial devastation and that horrible time in my life, one of the things that, and I didn't really know, there was this video I saw of a guy had a glass of dark colored water. And he said, if this is negativity, to put positivity into it, and he put clear water. You've probably seen this video, put clear water into it, and over a period of time, it slowly became clear water. And he likened that to positivity defeating negativity. And the thing is that at that time in my life, I was so defeated that I said, you know what, I might as well try it. So I literally went to bed listening to positive affirmations on YouTube in my ears to go to sleep. I woke up, I listened to positive affirmation from Diane Kokoska while I was taking a shower. And then in the car, I read audiobooks, and I constantly pumped positive affirmations and all this stuff into my head because I had to defeat all this negativity that was coming in to change the way I thought, to actually get back to where I used to be when I first started in real estate. And I literally turned my business around. I wouldn't say overnight, but probably pretty fast, to where on a consistent basis, if you leave your door open in your mind, anything can creep in there. And there are so many people around you that you are the average of your 5 closest friends, right? So, like, look around you and see who's saying negative things to you, who's saying positive things to you. And you know what? You don't have to unfriend people, but you can distance yourself from people and put other people in your life to get where you want to be. So I constantly just try to put positive things into my mind. There's things on YouTube that I go to. I wish I was an early morning person. I am still at almost the age of 50 years old, trying to still be an early morning person, but man, I just love to sleep. So it's just constantly putting what works for you in your, because like Tracy, when I talk to her, if I tell her to go watch a motivational video, like she'll throw something at me because that's just not her personality type. But I'm the type of person that constantly needs things coming at me to reinforce, to be positive, and constantly learn. You always have to learn. In real estate, you always have to learn. You always have to read. And if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich multiple times, if you haven't read the MREA, even if you're not with the MREA, has nothing to do with Keller Williams. It was written by Gary Keller, but it has nothing to do with Keller Williams. You need to read that multiple times. You need to find exactly. There was this one, lead 61 days to lead generate.
Horrible book.
Yeah.
Horrible book by a gentleman named Scott Groves.
Honestly,
it just tells you how to make
so the reason I love your book is because you deliver the information in bite-sized chunks. Because, you know, when you have like ADHD and like squirrel, and like it's when you have something that's easy to read, it just makes it that much more consumable. And the information you have in that book is just, it's awesome. It's amazing. And if all real estate agents read that, they'd be in a better place than where they're probably at right now. So it all comes down to mindset. And that's the one thing I realized. And one of the quotes by Steve Jobs that I think is the best quote ever is that he says, look around you. And when you realize that this world has been built by nobody that was smarter than you, everything was built around you by people that were no smarter than you. Because we want to tend to think that there's all these people out here like Bezos and Trump and like all these people that have billions of dollars that are they're smarter than you. They're not. They're not. A lot of it came down to work ethic. I love the meme of Jeff Bezos sitting at his computer with the Amazon sticker up there in his like 1986 like computer. That's work ethic. Like if you create your work ethic and you just refuse to give up, that's how you become successful. And at the end of the day, the lead generation aspect of it, which is what we're talking about, I think people don't understand lead generation on what it really is. And everybody on the planet's going to buy, sell, or rent. So that means every conversation that you have has a potential to be a lead. So you should, a minimum of 2 to 3 hours a day, focus on the follow-up to that. But every time you have a conversation, try to get that person in the leads. And I think we're spoiled because so many people have a conversation like expired listings. Most agents will call expired listings and the guy will hang up on them. They'll hang up and then they'll never follow up with that lead. They'll say, hey, is that for sale? No, I don't want to sell my house. Okay, click. Well, that doesn't mean that person's never going to sell their house ever again. That person just was unhappy at that time. When I talk to you, Scott, and I'm like, you know what, Scott just bought a house. He's probably not going to sell tomorrow. But if I cultivate our relationship, at some point you're going to refinance. And I know pretty good lender. Right now, having a conversation about refinancing and getting somebody from a 3.5 down to closer to a 3. I mean, if you were able to get one of your clients down to a 3% loan on their house to where they basically lowered their payment by $200 a month, that's going to endear you to them. You didn't make a sale, but you cultivated that relationship. And you just constantly focus on nurturing people and having conversations and staying in conversations, because that 300 people that you know, if you turn that to 600, you're literally at like $500,000 in GCI as a real estate agent, just constantly keeping in conversation with people, because everybody's going to move. Everybody's going to move at some point in time. So,
I love this part of the conversation that I've heard you have a few times with agents and then people outside of our industry of mortgages and loans, where it's like, it's not about the sale, it's about the relationship. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy when I've heard you speak in the past is like, hey, yeah, unless you're selling a 99-cent widget that, there's some metric on Facebook, but if you're selling a high ticket item, whether it's, $300 knives, like a lot of my friends that still work for Cutco, or whether it's $300,000, $3 million houses, it really is about the relationship. So can you talk to that for a moment? Because I think a lot of people, they get fired up. They read my book, they read Think and Grow Rich, they read whatever, and they're like, okay, cool. I'm going to crush it tomorrow at business. I'm going to absolutely do the lead generation and block out the time to make my prospecting calls. and they pick up the phone and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Like, what's the script? What's the this? It's like, well, no, to your point, you're just building a relationship. So what do you tell people to talk about, or what do they say? And again, it doesn't matter what you're selling. Right now, it's just a matter of checking in human to human. So talk a little bit about that idea of, it's about the relationship, not about the sale.
No, so if you wiped me out today and threw me in a city I didn't know, my strategy would be to create either address books, CRM, anything I could get for free. My goal would be to contact and get into relationship with as many people as I possibly can, as fast as I possibly can. And then the next thing is to be patient with every one of those people and to talk to them as much as I possibly could. Because everybody, I mean, we all know real estate agents. Everybody knows a real estate agent. But at the end of the day, your goal with your database and your people is to talk to them and make sure that those people are your people. If you think that your people in your phone right here don't have another real estate agent following up with them, you are naive. You are naive. But the key is that you need to be the person that person talks to consistently. So the problem that I see agents have is they get on the phone and they do exactly what you said. They don't know what to say. So it's really super easy. And I know other real estate coaches have done this, and it's just the easiest thing to do to stay in relationship and to get in a relationship with people is you call up people and you do the Ford script. And you just go through the Ford script and you take notes and you put it in your database. And then when you call them back, you refer back to your database. Oh, your puppy dog was sick. How did that turn out? Or your daughter just graduated. How did that turn out? What did you guys do for graduation? It's kind of crazy right now. But the Ford script is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And it's not an order, so you don't have to do it in that order, but you can do it in whatever order. So if I called you, I said, hey, Scott, you know what? And this is another thing. There's people in your database you haven't talked to in 5-10 years. So it's like, well, what do you do? So you call them up and you go, hey, Scott, it's Frank. How are you doing? I was just going through my database and I ran across your name, and it's been years since we've talked. I wanted to see how you're doing. It's that easy.
But what's the script, Frank? What's the script? I need the script. I need the exact I mean, you mean you can just talk to people as human beings?
Absolutely. So let's role play. So I'm going to call you up. I haven't talked to you in 5 years. All right. Ring, ring.
Yeah. Hey, this is Scott.
Hey, Scott, it's Frank. Frank Bernardo, you and I have not spoken in over 5 years. I was going through my address book and I cannot believe that it's been this long since we've talked. I just wanted to call and see how you're doing.
Frank, I'm so embarrassed. I don't even know how we know each other.
You know what? You know what? I'm in real estate. So we may have met at an open house. I think your daughter went to my daughter's school, and we went to a couple birthday parties together. My daughter's Jennifer. I don't know if that rings a bell, but how are you?
I really don't remember, but I remember my wife and I were going to open houses every weekend for about a year straight before we bought our house. So frankly, that's probably how we met.
That's awesome. And how do you like your house? Where'd you buy it?
We ended up moving out to the suburbs, just not the absolute perfect timing to move to the suburbs with everything that's going on in the world right now. So we bought about 6 months ago this 5-bedroom house with a pool up in the middle of Valencia, and super happy with the move. Probably awesome. Once the shelter in place is done, I'm gonna be a little upset driving into LA every day, but I don't know, maybe I'll buy a Tesla and Elon Musk can drive me to work every day.
There you go. And you used to be an engineer. Are you still working in the engineer field?
Nope, never an engineer. Always in mortgages.
Oh, okay. All right. So you know what? I wrote something down wrong. That's my bad, but that's cool. So how's mortgages doing?
Surprisingly good. We are one of the few industries that's actually seen some growth in the last couple months. Super blessed with everything that's going on out there. So yeah, we're pretty busy. How about you? What's new and exciting in the world of being a police officer? You know what? It's a little crazy, and things are chaotic right now. So I won't even play. But if you know me, I'm pretty excited about going to work because I like all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty proactive. I want to help people. So it's fun. How are the kids doing? Kids are good, man. I got an 18-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So it's kind of the spectrum. My 18-year-old's getting ready to go to college, and the 4-year-old's trying to blow up the house because he's doing stir crazy. But everybody's healthy, happy. So can't complain too much. What about you? I can't remember. Do you have kids? I have 3 kids, and 14-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, and 12-year-old boy. And God did not prepare me to handle girls. I'll tell you that. So Yeah, my only girl's the 2-year-old, and I'm already a little nervous.
So when they get older, and are you planning on staying in that house forever, or like what's the long-term plan for you guys?
The thought was this was going to be the forever house, but you know how it goes. As soon as
Yep.
you move into a place, you realize all the things that are missing, and you wish it had that or wish it has this. So, we were never, ever, ever, ever going to spend more than, $800,000. And now, of course, that we're here and we're happy, my wife's already looking, well, maybe you could work a little harder, honey. We could get the $1.2 million, the real dream forever house. And I'm like, how many forever houses can we have? So, yeah, I don't know. We're pretty happy here, but a
That's
couple of
awesome.
years things might change.
Well, you know what I do for my good friends is that I have your email. It's scott@grovesteam.com. Is that still your email address?
That's me, man.
Let me send you a few things that I do for my friends that, talk about their neighborhood and everything that's going on. And then, maybe when this whole pandemic thing, riot, crazy stuff goes away, you and I can get together and we go have a drink sometime.
Yeah, I'd be totally down for a drink. I'm going to need it.
All right, man. Well, it was great talking to you, and you have a fantastic day.
Thanks, man. Nice to hear from you.
Thanks for the curveballs, but it's really that easy. I like the curveballs though. That's good. You were in a lay down.
Oh, Frank, it's so hard. I need the scripts. I can't just talk to people like a normal human being if I'm a salesperson. If I'm a salesperson, I've got to have a sales script.
That is one of the biggest myths that's out there. And the thing is that with technology and with everything going the way it is, transparency is becoming key. So when you're able to just talk to people and just have a conversation with them to make sure that, like when you and I were talking, like I brought up specific things to make us relatable to each other. Like you have kids, I have kids, that makes us the same. I asked them very specific questions leading them down the path, but I wasn't pressuring for the sale because you told me you were pretty happy. That's great. As long as I stay in relationship and I'm consistent with the conversation, you're going to call me or you're going to call me and somebody else. At the end of the day, I'm guaranteed a slot, because the last thing you want to do if we're in a relationship is I call you to do our monthly check-in and you're like, yeah, I just listed my house with the local expert. So my goal is to make you my people. So you have to create those conversations, but a lot of it is just being yourself, be authentic. Authenticity is so key that people just don't get it.
Yeah. I think that's the way to end an interview, right? Be authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. Any last thoughts, tips, ideas on either lead generation? Well, I said we are going to end it, but I always got to get one more tip from you. So anything else you're seeing on the people that are being successful specifically today? We're coming together to have this interview specifically in a time of, we're still dealing with COVID-19, and now we've got social unrest and a lot of angst in the country. But, you're still witnessing a lot of people in your realm crush it in sales and lead generation. Any last tip or thought for what they're doing well?
So the world is always going to have noise. There's always going to be noise around you constantly. And at the end of the day, you have a goal in your life. So my goal is to hit over 200 agents. My goal is to hit $500,000 in sales volume. My goal is XYZ. There's always going to be roadblocks and speed bumps on your way to your goal. So when you hit, you have riots in the street. Okay, so what do I have to do now to deal with what's in front of me to get to my goal? You have a speed bump. You got to go over, you got to get around. There's a pandemic. I can't leave my house. Okay. So now my mind always goes, what can I do? Because my goal is not going anywhere. I'm still going to hit that goal. What do I have to do? And you just have to work around all these things that are given you. Like there's so many agents that just stopped what they were doing. Just stopped. They stopped calling people. They stopped talking to people. They stopped doing everything. And they just binge Netflix all day. And you just stopped your dream. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to mindset and the unwillingness to not be stopped. You just have to say, I cannot be stopped. So, I'm still recruiting agents when agents couldn't come into the office. I'm still, listing houses when people have to wear gloves and a mask and won't let people in the house. It's like, you just have to figure out a way to do it. At the end of the day, talk to as many people as you possibly can and put them in your database. Consistently follow up with them aggressively. If you're like, I don't know if I should call them again, that means you should probably call them again. When you have to be uncomfortable and you have to be patient with your database and you have to be patient with yourself and remove all these expectations that you have about what the business should be. because everything you expect to happen is usually going to take longer, because most people underestimate what they can do in 5 years and overestimate what they can do in 1.
Cool, man. I really appreciate you. I know your time is super valuable, and you even got all dressed up for us, so I appreciate that.
No, that was for my appointment before.
Oh, okay. All right, man. Well, I will be in touch, and we'll talk soon. Maybe you can come back on in a few weeks and give us an update as people start to return to work here in LA.
Yep. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.